All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, an interesting physique update from Lee Priest. As you guys know, Lee is kind of on a transformation journey right now, working with Dave Palumbo on his diet and training. And at the age of 49, I think he's looking pretty impressive. Now, on his Instagram story recently, he posted an update of his arms. And I think of Lee Priest's body parts overall, one of the things that was most iconic about his physique was his arms, specifically his biceps. And you can see in his latest story, his biceps look almost every bit as impressive as they looked back in the day. So I found this picture from 2002. I believe this was the 2002 Mr. Olympia. I wanted to put it side by side just to compare. Lee Priest, 20 years ago, he would have been 28 or 29 in these photos. Both the flex bicep and kind of his victory pose variation of his bicep. It still looks extremely similar to how it looks now, which I thought was interesting considering so many people were ragging on Lee when they saw the first updates that were posted, where he looked older. He looked a little bit out of shape, but I didn't think he looked bad, especially for his age and considering the fact that he says he's been eating like crap, he's been training like crap, and hasn't really been consistent with anything. I thought he looked pretty good for somebody that's almost 50 years old, especially when you compare it to the younger version of himself. I think he actually looks very similar, at least when it comes to his arms. And I know there's been some speculation with the fact that they're bringing back the Masters Mr. Olympia at some point in 2023, that if Lee Priest is successful with this transformation, that maybe he would jump in that show depending on what the age range is going to be for that. And I don't know how realistic that is, especially considering the nerve injury that he has, leaving one side of his body a little bit lagging behind the other. And that's one of the reasons for the lack of, I guess you would say, symmetry. But I think he looks pretty good overall here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, next up in the news, I thought this was a pretty interesting story revolving around GoodVito. Now, as you guys know, GoodVito recently announced that he will be pursuing a pro card in the IFBB Pro League, and he will be competing in the NPC to try to do so and qualify. Now, I actually saw this on Brazil Bodybuilding News on Instagram. When I translated their caption, they were talking about a couple different live streams. One was a live stream of two Brazilian promoters, the Gundi brothers, Tamer and Tarek, and also a live stream from GoodVito and his coach. So Tamer and Tarek were on a live stream with GoodVito's coach, and on that live stream, his coach said that he was ready to compete, or he was getting ready to compete in the NPC, and he's ready to make the transition. And Tamer and Tarek suggested that he come compete at the Expo Pro Super Show and try to earn his pro card there. So I thought that was interesting, even though his coach said at this point he's kind of in the off season, he wouldn't be ready by then because the Expo Pro Show is in June. But apparently he said that not only does GoodVito want to compete in Brazil, but he's going to compete in September in Brazil in one of their shows. So I thought this was extremely interesting because basically we now have confirmation of GoodVito's NPC debut where he will be attempting to earn his IFBB Pro card, which personally, I think as long as he comes in good condition, I think he's not going to have much trouble getting that pro card. And I was talking about this when we talked about Nick Walker, the comparisons between Nick and GoodVito, how quickly GoodVito could earn that pro card and immediately jump in a pro show, potentially win, and go straight to the Olympia or get an Arnold Classic invite. When you've got a guy that's got a physique like GoodVito has, the potential is astronomical for him to immediately have a successful pro career. He could turn pro in September, and he could qualify for the Olympia by December. You could see him go from turning pro in September, winning a pro show, getting his Olympia qualification, and you could see him in the Men's Open Olympia just in that span of a couple months. That's how quickly these kind of things can happen. So I personally think this is a really, really exciting possibility. That's something we have to look forward to later in the season. And again, I've talked a lot recently about Michael Krizo, and he's a little bit of a different situation because he earned his pro card before the IFBB and the IFBB Elite Pro split. So technically, I think there's a possibility that if he does want to come over, they might not make him go through the NPC. There might be some kind of possibility to convert his pro card over from Elite Pro to Pro League. So we might not need to see Krizo turn pro. So that's kind of why I've been talking about him, because I think we're going to see this with GoodVito. I think he's going to turn pro relatively quickly. But I think with Michael Krizo, it could be even quicker because I don't think he has to earn a pro card. I think they might be able to work something out if he does end up coming over to the IFBB Pro League to where he could just pop up at a show and no one would expect him to be there, which that would be a very interesting outcome. So let me know what you guys think. How do you think GoodVito will fare in the NPC? Do you think he'll turn pro relatively quickly? And do you think we could possibly see him on the Olympia stage in 2022? Now, next up in the news, speaking of Brazil, the favorite bodybuilder of Brazil, Rafael Brandao, getting ready for the Arnold Classic Brazil. Posting this update at 15 days out, almost 2 weeks away now. It's come up very quickly, the Arnold South America. It's right around the corner, showing off the condition that he's in. You guys can see the serratus, the abs, the detail, the vascularity in those forearms. And still, 15 days out, we don't have a complete competitor list for this show, so it's not going to surprise me when Rafael comes in and wins this thing. Now, next up in the news, a rare physique update from Hadi Choopan, confirmed on his story to be taken today. And I think it's interesting because we really almost never see Hadi Choopan out of shape. Every update that we see from Hadi, he looks like he could be weeks out from a show. This update is no exception. So it kind of makes me wonder, I mean, he's in really good shape here. Look at the vascularity in his legs. You can even see cross striations on the teardrop of his quad. He's in really good shape to be this far out from the Olympia, which is in December. I'm assuming he's not doing any other shows between now and then because he does not need to qualify. And of course, he's working with one of the best coaches in the game, Hani Rambod, who coached Phil Heath to pretty much all his Olympia victories. He brought Derek Lunsford to his 212 Olympia victory, and he's brought Hadi Choopan in incredible shape consistently. And maybe this is why. We really, honestly, never see Hadi looking bad. He always looks lean. He always looks in shape. But it does make me wonder a little bit if there's something that we don't know, if Hadi might jump in a show prior to the Olympia based on how he's looking here. I mean, I don't know. He looks really good. I've said before that the past few Olympias, I think you could have made a strong argument for Hadi placing higher, and I think at some of those Olympias, you could have made a strong argument for Hadi winning the show. I think Hadi will win the Olympia title one day. It's just a matter of when. As consistent as he is with that conditioning, and as inconsistent as most of the other top guys seems to be, one of these years he's going to catch everybody off. That's where guys like Hadi Choopan excel. Year after year, very consistent, shredded conditioning. Eventually someone's going to come in off enough that Hadi gets bumped up to a really good call-out, maybe a top 2 call-out. They realize how good he looks, and he ends up winning the show. I think that's what's going to end up happening in the near future for Hadi Choopan, a future Mr. Olympia title. And the final story that I've got for you guys today, an update on Bill Pearl. Bill Pearl at age 91, a classic golden era bodybuilder. As I told you guys a few days ago, Bill Pearl had an accident on his lawnmower where his lawnmower basically tipped over on top of him. He was trapped underneath. He's been hospitalized. His wife posted an update today on his Facebook page and says, "Finally, a good day. I arrived at the hospital to find Bill resting comfortably. His breathing, which has been rapid and labored, was even and relaxed. He had a little oatmeal and sipped a little coffee, which was the first he's eaten since the accident, which, again, was a few days ago. He had some occupational therapy with exercise bands, then physical therapy, then came and wrestled him into the clamshell back brace and got him sitting up, then standing and sitting for 10 reps. It's a start. He is grateful for all the prayers and support from all of you and cannot wait to get back to doing his posts. Thank you again for all the encouraging messages. Signed, Bill and Judy Pearl." And again, to some of the young guys that might not know, Bill Pearl is a multiple-time Mr. Universe winner. At some of those Mr. Universe competitions, he beat Mr. Olympia champions like Frank Zane and Sergio Oliva. He won those titles across multiple decades, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. He is a true golden era bodybuilding legend, and to see him still going strong at 91, even after an accident like this, and living that bodybuilding lifestyle for so many years as a bodybuilding champion, for him to even get to 91, I think is extremely impressive. Definitely in my thoughts, definitely in my prayers. And I'm glad to see that he's doing better and he's doing well and he's still just keeping on trucking. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.